And good afternoon, Guilford. My name is Tony Fabiano, and I'm coming to you today along with my ace cameraman, Jordan Espinoza. We're coming to you from the Guilford Community Center, and our purpose for being here today is to have a discussion, a conversation with the brand new director for the Parks and Recreation Department for the town of Guilford, which is a huge job. And my guest is that person, and many of you probably know Pamela Gery from perhaps the very nice article that the Shoreline Times did on you in terms of your background. And everybody that I've spoken to speaks so highly of everything that you bring to this job. And it's important. I mean, to me it's important. I think to him it's important because almost everybody in the town of Guilford at one time or another uses your services. Yes. More so than any other department in this town. If you think about it. Old, young, doesn't matter. Sometime or another we're going to use you.
That's right.
All right, Pam, again, thank you so much for your time. I know you must be very busy. You've been on the job now how long?
14 days.
Is that what it is?
14 days.
I'm so lucky. I got you right at the beginning.
It's been kind of comical beginning because I come in every day and day 2, day 3. So well, I'm up to day 14.
That's really neat. Now 14 days, so you've had a very little opportunity to do much with the job, except maybe the planning stages, maybe meeting your staff.
I have had, I'm 14 days in, but I've had 14 meetings with staff members. So I'm going to go through every single one. There's probably 30 that I have to get through. And some of the meetings have been 2.5 hours. Today, one of my meetings went an hour and a half.
What's the gist of those meetings? What do you try to accomplish?
I want to understand who they are, where they came from, what their role is, maybe pros and cons since they've been here. Anything I can learn from that particular person in that particular role. And you know, if it was in their hands, what would they change? So.
Okay. And you said 30?
Up to 30.
You have 30 employees?
Yes, between the kitchen staff and the recreation staff and the senior staff, the bus drivers, the park crew. Actually, I'd like to sit down with every single Park and Rec commissioner as well. Okay, we're going to break that down into those categories of things that you're actually responsible for. Okay. And you have to be answerable to. Sure. Yeah. And again, just to underscore how important this job is and how important this department is to the town of Guilford, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Now, how did you get involved, first of all, in this profession? And I'm calling it profession because I saw your business card and you have initials after your name. What are those initials? CPRP and Certified Park and Recreation Professional.
Okay, how do you get that?
It's an exam.
How do I get one of those?
It's an exam. You got to go through an exam, and I waited quite a long time. I got my CPRP during my years in Darien, but all my years in Westbrook and North Branford, I was a busy mom raising kids, and I was so busy doing what I was doing in my job that you know it wasn't as important to me at that time. And finally, when I got to Darien, it was time to take this certification and pass it and add it to my title.
So it's an exam, but is there also a tenure that precedes the, in other words, can I walk in and get an exam, or do I have to have the experience?
You have to have experience. Yeah. Yes, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, where did you actually start?
Where did I start my career?
Yeah.
So I went to Central Connecticut State University. I have a marketing degree. And after college, I decided I was going to travel. I didn't want to dive right into a profession, nor did I know exactly what I wanted to do. But I had been an athlete all through high school and college. I played college basketball, and played for Brenda Riley at Central Connecticut State University. Played Gino Ariema, got beat by 20.
Only 20?
In his early days.
That's almost a win.
That's right. So, and after that I traveled. I backpacked through Europe for 13 countries. I went and lived in San Diego and in Boston. And it kind of comical story because my mother at that time, I was still waitressing and, you know, making a buck but traveling. And she said, it's time to get a career. And she said, how about Parks and Recreation? Westbrook, Connecticut has a job opening. And at that time, you know, I wasn't even really that familiar because when I grew up in Westbrook. They didn't have a Parks and Recreation department, and it was newly formed. I became the second full-time, I got hired. I became the second full-time director there, and kind of a one-man show, small department, learned a lot.
What's the population in Westbrook compared to Guilford?
Well, it's 5,000, but in the 5,000, but in the summer it's about 15,000. Yeah. So a lot of summer people.
As compared to 20, 22, 23 here in Guilford, much, much smaller.
Right, right.
But yeah, you still have old people, young people, you have the whole spectrum, right?
And quite honestly, when you're a single person department, you're wearing so many different hats. You're doing budget, you're doing event planning, you're doing programming, you're doing camps.
Did you have staff?
Only volunteers and contractual.
Wow.
That's it. So you really, when you're working for a one-person department, it's very challenging. So then 4 years into it, there was an opening in North Branford, and I was hired there. And
which is a step up. Again, the demographics, be a bigger town?
Correct, 15,000, 16,000. Again, I replaced a gentleman who was there for 30 some odd years. So I became the second full-time Park and Recreation director there. And, you know, right off the bat, there were just so many gaps to fill. They didn't have any special events. They were really focused more on just their senior center, and the recreation part of it was just, it was really easy to grow. You know, so I was able to start the Potato and Corn Festival, which everyone loves today still. It's been around over 20 years now.
Is it 20 years?
Yes, it hit 20 years in 2022, I believe.
So you started the festival with no experience in festivals either.
No, no, we didn't have anything. No, I had run the Potato Festival in Westbrook, Connecticut.
Okay.
So that was kind of handed down to me from the first director. And it was just a potato festival. Boy Scouts were involved, and so it was very small. So when I got to North Branford, it really was as simple as this. We didn't have anything. I had experience running the potato festival. My staff was on board. And then someone from town came in and said, why a potato festival? We don't grow potatoes. We grow corn. And I said, okay, it's the Potato and Corn Festival. And that's how it went. And we started at...
Did somebody start growing potatoes as a result?
They didn't, but our seniors loved wrapping them, the thousands and thousands of potatoes. And it started as a 3-hour event, then it went to 5 hours, and then it went to 8 hours. Then we acquired a 300-acre parcel. And
now, what do you mean acquired? The town bought it?
The town bought it. It was right next door.
How did you do that?
The land became for sale, and the town manager pushed for it.
It got cheap, I'm sure.
No,
20 years ago, relatively speaking,
right,
it was cheaper.
Right,
yeah.
It was. So they acquired the property, and we immediately took this festival, had the vision of what it could be, and the natural bowl and grades of the property, and we made it happen. 3-day festival.
Okay, and what was the festival? What were the component parts of it?
Well, we had a very...
you have a midway?
Well, we did. We had the carnival came in, absolutely, and we had, you know, it was 3 days, so we had bands up in a really beautiful natural bowl of the property, like an amphitheater bowl. Had a stage put on the bottom. We had fireworks that shot over it. We had a beautiful, I mean, enormous carnival tent. So under that, we had another stage. And we had all seating. We had, I mean, we must have had 50 food vendors. And
I mean, in my memory now, it was successful almost immediately.
Immediately.
It caught on right away. And I got to think, because you didn't have a big staff, you must have had a lot of volunteers.
A lot of volunteers. Yep, and people.
And that's how do you do that? How do you get volunteers to get off the couch?
Yeah.
Get off all the potato people.
Well, we had our senior center. We had our rec department. So our senior center automatically wanted to be involved, loved it. So a lot came from our seniors. And you know, when you have a town that doesn't have an annual event, a special annual event, it became the love of the town. So it was easy to get volunteers. And so then, of course, years later, there was a committee formed.
And there's a lot of, it's got an agrarian background. You got a lot of farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you have the Augers there,
Yep.
right across
Augers,
the street.
Di Francesco's,
Big family.
they all donated corn. We had a road, a 5K road race during it. It still is just the annual event that the town looks forward to every year. And so, yeah, very proud of it, but I was also happy to, give my baton away and move on. So then I went to Darien.
That happened because Darien became available, it was a better job, it was more money, it was more what? That had to be more of something.
Right, well, ironically...
Does that make sense, Jordan?
Ironically, the town manager, when I was in North Branford, I had 6 town managers in the 15 years. And one of my town managers was Carl Kilduff, and he had moved on to Darien and became the town administrator there. And I had not seen or heard from him in 6 years.
Now, you can't get to Darien from here. It's not easy.
Well, it's not easy. You can get there.
Were you living up there? Or
no, I commuted from here. But Carl called me up after 6 years. We had a really good working relationship. He knew how hard I worked, and he knew I was ambitious, and this job was paying more money. And he suggested I apply, and I did. And that opportunity was a really terrific opportunity.
Now, the average Darien citizen is not the average North Branford farmer. Would you agree? I don't want to put a... if I had to describe them, I would just say they're different.
Yes, well, here's the great description of it, is that, and I would say this often in Darien, I came from a town, North Branford, that had all the land that you needed to have programming, events, things like that, but a very small budget, to a town that was 97% built out, no land, and all the money that you want.
With a bunch of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Big budget.
Was it easy to get the money?
Yeah.
Because I don't care how much money you have, it's not always easy to get the money.
Well, they were extremely supportive. I, too, became the 2nd Park and Recreation Director there. So every town I became the 2nd. And that particular Park and Rec Director before me was there 25 plus years. And they were excited for new blood. They wanted new blood. That particular director did a terrific job, but she was very focused on park. And so again, here's the gaps. I came in and there was very little programming, no community events, again. So, and this particular job didn't have the senior center attached to it, like North Branford did. And nor did they have summer camp. We had, vendors that did small camps, but we had somebody separate doing that in the department. So it was just, again, very, I don't want to say easy, but one of the biggest changes I made there was I convinced the town that to give me funding for a new full-time program recreation supervisor. And that was the game changer. So we initiated and brought 9 new community events to town.
Now, they didn't have the resource like you have in North Branford in terms of the open fields and the open land.
Right.
But did they have athletic fields?
Yes.
Oh, and were you somehow involved with the Little Leagues and the Park and Rec that goes along with all the sports?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a park crew, same size as the park crew here in Guilford. And great guys that did great work, and they took care of all our parks and our beaches. We too had 2 beaches out there. Here Guilford has Jacobs and Lake Quanapug. They had 2 waterfront areas. And so very similar to here, very similar. However, Guilford is much nicer.
Well, again, from the demographics point of view, I would say they are very similar.
Very similar.
From my business in real estate, I could see that there's a lot of similarities.
There is, except they don't have an incredible green. They really don't have any place to congregate except a park.
Okay. So now you kind of covered a lot of little things that you do, but let's start to break it down. What are your responsibilities on a daily basis? And I'm gonna bring. You mentioned kitchen staff. What's your responsibilities at the kitchen here? Well, what happens in that kitchen?
What happens in that? Well, I saw it yesterday. That's for sure. My 13th day, they had the Valentine's luncheon, and they had 180 seniors for lunch. And I have not witnessed that. It was the first time I witnessed that. And that's a lot of people in a beautiful space, and a lot of things happening to plan. And Larry Santamaria, who is the
Were you
cook,
involved in the planning, or was it Larry?
Nope.
Because he's done he's done one for us every year for, I don't know how many years, for the Rotary Club.
Right, he plans the food and the menu, but the planning of the actual luncheon is Terry Buckley. So she's the senior program supervisor. And so that was already planned before I got here. So I observed, I got my, I got my hands in there, I helped serve, and I helped clean up. And
Because you can see potential now.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking at something like that, well, boy, what can we do next?
Absolutely.
What can come after this?
Yes. So Larry's managing his kitchen staff. I'm really overseeing all those positions, making sure that everything, so I observed, were there things that could be done better? Were there other things we could add? Was the meal acceptable, right? Were people happy?
Okay, let's talk about the meals that come out of there, because it's not just what gets served on site.
Right.
Also, Meals on Wheels comes out of there. Is that part of your responsibility?
I would say that it's under our responsibility here as the department. Of course, but I'm learning.
I mean, it's Guilford Interfaith, whatever it's called now, whatever
I'm
that.
learning, and I did not realize that Meals on Wheels was that significant here.
It's huge.
It's
you wouldn't believe 300 people need a daily meal.
It's eye-opening.
It's more than that. Maybe it's more than 300. I don't know what it is now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I'm learning, like, we need a new steamer in the kitchen. And so then, with my job, I have to make sure, where am I going to get that funding and get the approvals to get the funding? How quickly can I get that done? So there's a lot of overseeing.
Yeah, so something like that would be one item on an as-need basis, but does something like that become part of your annual budget too? You have to look forward to the next time you put a budget in front of the first select board.
We have a 5-year capital.
Yeah.
Which is pretty usual. Every town I've been in, I've had a 5-year capital plan, and very important so that you can kind of envision what your needs are going to be. So yeah, that's quite simple.
Now I see people having breakfast in the dining area every morning. What's that all about?
How I understand it is that that's fairly new. I'm not quite sure how new, 6 months new or so. That is that they opened up that service to kind of help offset the subsidized lunch program, and it's doing very well. And so, as we know, as Guilford residents know, we try to keep the prices very low for the seniors.
Is that a profit source for you, or is that just a service that you provide?
It's a service. It's a subsidized service. Absolutely. No, there's no profit gained.
I would think that.
But however, they're learning with the breakfast that it has been helping. That I'm going to throw a number out here. I believe it's something like $25,000 that's subsidized. But then with the breakfast, it reduced that significantly. Because it's bringing in some revenue to help.
Okay. Let's move on to another part of what I perceive to be one of your responsibilities, and that is the athletic programs that take place in the town. Are you overseeing Little League, or are they on their own? Are they a separate entity?
Separate entity, but they do work very closely with Ellen Clow, our recreation supervisor, in terms of permitting. Our guys, our park crew, they take care and maintain the fields.
Oh, they do. And those fields are owned by the Board of Ed, or controlled, or whatever.
Depends on park, and then Board of Ed fields. Yes, athletic fields. So our crew takes care of that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Jordan. I know he played basketball. He played baseball. He's played all kinds of sports in town.
Right.
Now, those kind of fall under what your responsibilities are?
The athletic fields, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, just coordinating the use of the fields for that many kids and that many parents that have their hand. We want this, and we want this time, and this day, and
yes. And Ellen does a fantastic job.
Somebody a long time ago said, you can't satisfy all the people all the time.
No, you can't.
You know that.
I know that greatly. Yeah.
You probably knew that in Darien and North Bradford and Westbrook.
Sure did. It's a lot of people to navigate, but I think.
Abe Lincoln, by the way.
Okay. But I think it's one of my strengths. One of my strengths is that I like forming those relationships, and I believe that my job is about connecting people. And if anything that we can do is bringing people together to connect. And all the programs that we have here. This community center is about connection.
All right, let's talk about this particular facility. I think this was built around 1990, 91 or so. It's about,
Right
what is
when I
that,
moved
25
here.
years old now?
Right.
35 years old.
Right when I moved here, it was
Is the
built.
facility adequate for the town?
Well, I'm in my early stages here, but what I've witnessed in the 14 days I've been here is that this is a very well-loved facility. And even conducting my one-on-one meetings with my staff, trying to find an open space to have the meetings in,
Yeah.
has been
I was
challenging.
glad this room was available.
Right,
When we
right.
showed up, a little, where are we going to go,
Yeah.
Jordan? I don't know where we're going to
This
set
is a
up.
perfect room.
This is good. They got a fireplace.
Yes, yes. So I mean, it has been really eye-opening in such a great way that this facility is used. Now, when we had those 180 people here yesterday, they also had tax assistance program going on, and they had the Rotary Club upstairs. Here's
I know
where
those guys.
the parking is really difficult because this is such a well-loved place.
Yeah.
So next door, I know they purchased the house next door, but the parking, you know, we're parking over there, but parking is a concern.
Yeah. Now Parks and Rec, or the towns, one of you or both of you, purchased the house next door.
Yes, that's my understanding, yes.
And that's going to be parking, or?
From what I understand, that was the mission, but I also believe that there's been some concerns about knocking down the house, so that's why it's still sitting.
And maybe repurposing that?
Right, so I'm not sure that's going to be something that I'm going to have some conversations about.
Whose decision is that?
I believe Matt Hoey, you know, our first selectman, has, you know, he's the final one that we need to go through to.
But shouldn't that be a community decision as well?
Oh yes, I do. I'm still trying to figure out the process.
Yeah, I'm not, as I mentioned to Jordan earlier today, I'm not one party or the other. I'm an independent, but basically I know everybody and I've interviewed everybody over the years. So I like everybody, but the bottom line is that I believe the people make the decisions, and you elect the people to enact what the people want.
So I'm not certain what process has already gone through to purchase the property, and then of course I'm just overhearing why the house is still there.
Yeah.
So I'm not certain how we move forward with that right now until I learn more about the process. But I also can envision the potential of doing something.
Yeah,
you know, so
it could be more meeting rooms.
I am an optimist, let me tell you something.
I mean, there's probably nights where all the meeting rooms are taken.
Yeah, and actually, I just met with a neighbor who also has some space that's connected right to the back of the parking lot, who also has this really lovely space. So I'll be talking to Matt about that too, and the Parks and Rec Commission. So yeah, there's a lot of people involved when it comes to
that donation could be a great tax deduction.
It could be.
Right, could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so again, you have such a wide scope of the responsibilities that you deal with. What about the athletic fields themselves? Do you actually maintain them? What do you do in terms of baseball?
Mowing, you know, in terms of, you know, making sure that there's no weeds, you know, that they're playable and they're safe. That's number one for our guys. And they have to have a schedule, so once the growing season starts coming in the spring, that's a lot of their schedule that will be maintaining those athletic fields to be safe for play.
Yeah, so soccer is huge in this town.
Huge. Calvin Lee, my kids played it. They grew up in all.
Them too.
Yep, yep. I was the busy mom running from field to field.
Do you live near Lee?
I do.
He lives across the street.
I do too. Did you know that?
So you're getting to meet your neighbor
We're neighbors.
on top of everything else.
Yeah. So.
So the bottom line there is that the field is the field.
Okay.
The town owns the field.
Yes.
But a lot of people want to use that field.
Right.
So you have to sort of work your way through.
Facility permits. That's another big job in our department, is in terms of making sure that calendar is, and approvals have been done to use those fields. Just like even our pavilions at the beach, right? Everybody wants to use them, but we have to be very organized in how we permit them out and put them on the calendar so there's no conflicts.
Yeah,
you know, those are,
I can see that.
Yeah, they're very well used as well. So yeah, the fields operate the same way. You know, obviously, Little League, youth soccer, you know, they're organizations that have been around for a very long time, so they're getting their spaces that they need. First.
Yeah, soccer is obviously always been big, but lacrosse now is the next one.
Yep, big.
I mean, how many kids are playing lacrosse? It's amazing.
It is amazing.
I know nothing about lacrosse, but I've watched a little bit of it.
Right, and really that's our park crew is maintaining those fields. That's their job, and they have.
Those are your employees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and then we have a park supervisor, Tony Anicelli, who does a terrific job with his staff. And so I check in with Tony about any issues and problems we might need, or maybe more equipment he might need, or how can I make his job easier too. And then of course Ellen Clow, who's a recreation supervisor, you know, she's handling all those facility permits, and she's handling all the camps and the beaches. So a lot of responsibility in town.
Talk a little bit about liability, because you know, if there's people on the field, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
What are the liabilities for your department and for the town, and how do you ameliorate that?
It's pretty common that Parks and Recreation...
Was that a word?
I'm not sure. I let that kind of slide by me.
I think it is. Almost.
It's pretty common in every position I've had that each town, however that it forms, might look different, have a liability waiver form. So when people are signing things, even like, you know, a recreation class, you're signing off on that liability to make sure that the
That doesn't
town
mean you
is
aren't going to get sued
protected.
if somebody breaks their leg.
No, well...
Because the lawyers sue everybody.
Well, yeah, but if there's a problem, we know about it and we didn't fix it, that's where there would be a problem.
There's the problem, yeah.
But if there is something that we have been maintaining and nothing's been alerted to us, we didn't see it, it's, you know, those things, anybody can trip and fall. But you do have to keep that in mind.
So this is the Parks and Recreation Department.
Right.
Where are the parks?
The parks.
What parks are you in charge of?
Well, there's Chittenden. You're going to put me on the spot here, aren't you? There's Chittenden, there is Chaffinch Island, there is the beaches, Jacobs Beach, there is Long Hill Road, there's Nut Plains Park, there's the dog park, which is at Nut Plains.
That's new.
There is Lake Quanapog.
Now, are you in charge of hiring the staff that, all the lifeguards, for example? Is that part of your responsibility?
It's part of our staff's responsibility, yes. Okay. So that's coming up right now. They're going to make sure that they call all the lifeguards that are interested in coming back from last year, find out how many gaps are left.
They're away in college somewhere now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even
it might be still in high school, yeah.
And then they have to figure out how to fill those gaps. Say they had 25 last year and they only have 20 returning, then they're going to have to be on this go to get 5 more.
So do you have extra funds available when you have to hire on an as-need basis? Let's say high school kids that are available for the summer, certain jobs need to be done. Maybe helping out with the fields, or maybe
we have
more work,
seasonal positions, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have funding for that.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's all in that budget planning process, right? So every year we have
to... The budget you're working with today, though, is you inherited that.
I inherited it, yes.
And have you analyzed it yet?
I have analyzed it, however, there's no changes to be made right now. So Rick Maynard did his final budget process and has submitted that budget, and then I will at this point really oversee in fiscal 25 is what he put forth. So July 1st that will start, and that will be a year that I'm going to really oversee and see what happens with the funding that they put forth.
Okay.
You know, is overtime enough money? You know,
now let's talk about what everybody considers to be the gem of the town of Guilford, and that is the town green.
Yes.
Is that part of your responsibility?
Yes. Yes. The maintenance of that, the garbage cans have to be emptied, and you know, our summer concerts on the green. We have to make sure that you know, there's no conflicts when it comes to some of the annual events that are happening there now.
Well, Expo is always a controversy.
Well, it's all, and it's a big...
I'm on the Green Committee.
Okay, all right.
And I was on the original Green Committee 20 years ago.
Okay, I understand I have to go to those too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I
Oh, you're going to be part of that?
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have, I'm new on the newest, my newest membership on that committee, but the old one used to meet on a regular basis. This one meets when we get a call.
Oh, okay, so I don't even know that.
You'll know in advance, I guess.
Okay,
You'll know
all
in
right.
advance.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm very much into sustainability.
But the
as
green,
well.
let's face it, the green is huge.
It's amazing.
The green, I mean, Bittner's nice, but the green is the green.
Oh, I forgot to say Bittner before.
Yeah, you did mention, yeah.
So yeah, the green is beautiful.
And Bittner has evolved too as probably one of the biggest of the parks in terms of the variety of stuff that takes place there.
I agree, and that, you know, I've been here 31 years in town, and that has grown. You know, the disc golf is what a tremendous thing, and just had a couple different one-on-ones with my park crew, and they're all playing. They love it, you know, playing out and and not only that, they're near and dear to the heart to work on the course, but then to actually go enjoy playing on it as well. You know, so I thought that was just, what a great addition. Pickleball, great addition.
Pickleball, brand new.
Right?
Who heard of it? It's been around for a long time,
It
but
has.
we just know about it now.
Darien, we had a huge pickleball.
Did you?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we actually took one of our tennis courts and converted them to 4 pickleball courts. And I see now that, you know,
That takes up a lot of space. I mean, it's not a full tennis court, but it's a lot.
Have you played?
I haven't played, no.
You should go play. It really is, it's fun. I understand why it's so,
Really?
yes, it's contagious.
I guess it allows people from all ages to get involved.
Yeah, it's actually like this, it's like a large ping pong table.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I you know, can describe it. So, but when you get out there, it seems to be really communal. It's communal play. Like people are, you know, waiting kind of in the sidelines, and then, you know, one team will be need one more, and they're kind of in, and it's very, you have to witness it.
Yeah.
Much more communal, I think.
So my cameraman is saying, I had enough here. Jordan, we're into 30 minutes already, right? Okay. Give me 5 more because I want to wrap this up, okay? So we've covered a lot of stuff, but we didn't cover very much. I mean, there's a lot more that you do. What is going on in your department that you would like people watching today to know more about? For example, if somebody has a suggestion or a question about our discussion and they want to talk to you about it,
Absolutely.
how do they do that?
You can go on the website and get my email address, get the phone number, call me. I am open to sitting down with anyone if they want to discuss something. And I actually have a few meetings of people I'm going to be meeting next week for the first time. Garden Club, have some ideas, and so, yeah.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of ideas.
I am available. I am available if you want to sit and chat about something that you really love, something that you'd like to see change. You want to give a thumbs up to the park crew because they're so great. Thumbs up to the senior center.
One question that has come up over the years about this actual facility that we are in, which is fantastic, the use of this facility by younger people, to somehow allow young people to come in and, whether it be sports or whatever.
Right. I have had just a small conversation.
It won't be the last, I can guarantee you that.
No, and it was at the end of my last Park and Rec Commission meeting where we were talking about that after the meeting, because I think the house came up too next door.
Right, yeah.
And you know, really, what kids are looking for, and it's not necessarily a program that they have to pay for. They want to hang together, and they want a space where they can have a couch and some chairs and a big TV, or you know, it's a place to and really there isn't a place like that.
Exactly.
And in North
let's
America,
face
I tried to do
it's
that.
a hell of a lot harder to be a kid today than when I was a kid. Even you. And there's a big gap here too.
Right.
But as you get back and you get closer to these kids' age today, this is not easy to navigate through all of the challenges.
Right. And then of course the phones.
Yeah.
You know, and
the social media.
Social media.
Yeah, and the drugs on the street today, you know, hopefully that's not as big an issue as it is in some other locations.
Right. But I think
sometimes you don't know until you know.
Right, and I think what's key about that is that the kids, because of social media, because of the phones, heads are always down, there's less connection.
Yeah.
There's only
Oh, I agree.
connections through the phone. And
Did you hear Lamont the other day in his
No.
State of the Union?
No, I did not.
He said, too much smartphone makes you stupid. Just, that's exact quote unquote. Too much smartphone makes you stupid.
Oh boy, what a comment, right? But they need to connect with each other more. And so I do see finding a space that they could do that.
Yeah, you know, one suggestion, and I know nothing about this except I know a lot of kids, is that putting together a subcommittee of kids to give you the ideas.
Great idea.
And then take those ideas and run with them.
Absolutely.
You know, because these kids, they're not bashful.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I really do. I wonder if there would be interest there. Because, you know, they're going to the green to hang out, which is a great place to hang out.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the winter months, I mean, we see them walking by our windows, and, you know, it would be great to come up with something like that.
Yeah, kids get out of school at 2 o'clock. I mean, you have the whole rest of the day.
Right.
And let's face it, both parents are not home
Right.
in most cases.
Right, exactly.
You were a hardworking mom.
I was a hardworking mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is.
My son came here to play pool. You know, so he was definitely someone that used the facility for, you know, the pool room.
I mean, again, there's so much that that has been done that's great, fantastic, but so much more that could be done.
Right.
And that's what you're all about.
I am, and I can just say to everybody, one of the things I'd like to do first, once I get settled, I've had my one-on-one meetings, I understand more, is I'd love to put together a community assessment, needs assessment, so that I can hear from the public. And I know since I've been here, I don't remember or recall getting a community needs assessment. Just you know, a survey that's, you know, sent to my email box, or even a hard copy someone can pick up. I did one in Darien. I got 2,500 responses, and I'll tell you, we gained a lot of great data hearing back from the people.
Well, again, you came with a fantastic resume, a lot of experience. I like I don't know how many years it was in Europe. I like that,
Yeah.
traveling.
Backpacking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a backpacker, but I've been to Italy 5 times.
All
I mean,
right.
you know,
I did 13 countries. It was one of the best things I did as a kid.
All right, bottom line, Jordan, are we all set?
We're all set.
All right, I'm Tony Fapiano. Jordan Espinoza has been doing camera for us. I really appreciate that, Jordan. And I want to be able to use you in the future if you ever had any free time. Right now, it's pre. What's the next sport for you?
Lacrosse.
We might have him on this side of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could do that.
Interview him
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. I appreciate your time you took.
By the way, that's a resource for you also. GCTV, Guilford Community Television, and you have somebody on the board of GCTV that works here.
Oh.
Todd.
Oh, okay.
He's on their board.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
All
and that resource there is so underutilized in this town. If you, I mean, in my opinion, so many things could be covered and taped and presented to the community on a regular basis.
Yes.
They used to be.
Okay.
I've been involved since the late 80s
Oh, wow.
in GCTV when it was very, very small. It has grown. They've got phenomenal studio, phenomenal equipment.
Great.
All kinds of possibilities. You could grab a camera like I did, run out with the camera and do something like this.
That's fantastic.
You know, spur of the moment.
To hear.
Very underutilized resource. Keep that in mind too.
I will keep that in mind because in Darien we also had that, and it was Channel 79, and we used them for all our events.
Actually, North Branford
has
is
it
very
too?
good public
Okay.
access. They really do.
They must have. Yeah, it must have
Walter,
grown. Okay.
Walter Mann
I think it
is
must have
in
grown.
charge of their whole thing there.
Okay.
But anyway, bottom line, Jordan, again, I appreciate it. Pamela, so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you,
Nice
and
meeting you
wish
too.
you all the very best. And
Thank you.
where you go from this, you can't satisfy everybody all the time,
No.
but you will. I know you're going to really try
I'm
hard to
looking
do
forward
that.
to making a difference.
And I loved Rick.
Yes.
Everybody loves Rick.
Everybody
Good
loves
friend
Rick.
of mine for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, good guy.
Big shoes to fill.
It was time though. You know, he did his thing, and it was time for him to move on and to make room for you.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And
I'm
all the
so
best.
excited.
All right. And you people at home have any questions at all, get in touch with Pam. Get in touch. Go to the website. Check out the email address. Send your emails. Be proactive, because this department is so important to so many people. All ages, all demographics, everything. So with that, thanks again.
Thanks again.
Thank you for watching.